What's up, everybody? We are back again with a new episode of Big Back Adventures. Hell yeah. On this episode, I got my good friend, Tommy Oler.
Hey, I'm in here.
Comedian and extraordinaire, writer of great, amazing sketches, of all things you should watch. Oh, and of the great, amazing TV show, or not a TV show, but it should be a TV show, so anybody listening, pick the shit up, right? It's called And For What. It's called
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? So, on this episode, we're going to do a part 2. We're going to talk about the cookout, because I'm sure everybody's going to ask, why did you have a white guy talk about the cookout too, right? Right. And the reason I had Tommy on here is because Tommy, I will put Tommy's cornbread up against any black person of all time. Right? I even told my mom. I told my mom this the other day. She was like, what have you been doing? I was like, man, I just really wish I had some of Tommy's cornbread. She was like, who's Tommy? I was like, he's a comedian. Makes the best cornbread from scratch. Right?
That's so
I was like, it's so
wild.
good. He just makes it on his cornbread. I like it on his lunch break. That's how quick and good he's at it.
I did do it that day. I came by and made cornbread on my lunch break. That is, yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. So, like I said, we're talking about the cookout this time. So, Tommy, what do you experience, or what do you expect, or what do you look for when you go to a cookout?
Okay.
That you're like, get here, you know the food's gonna be good.
Okay, so my mom is from Ecuador, as you know.
Yeah.
So anytime I go, and it's like familiar related, there needs to be empanadas and there needs to be rice.
Okay.
if we don't have one of those two things, I am upset and I start yelling.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's the empanadas?
Yeah.
Where's the rice? This is insane. And if we have empanada but only one kind, if like we only have cheese or we only have meat, I start yelling because we need both.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what I got to have. I got to have that to have a good time. That's what I got to have. And rice goes with everything, so whatever you got, I'm just going to put a bunch of rice. I mean, even if it's hamburgers and hot dogs, I'm putting rice on my plate, a hot dog on top of that. That's what I'm doing.
So you said being from Ecuador, what kind of rice is it then? So is it just like
it can be any kind. It can be it can be like like Mexican rice. It can be white rice. My mom makes such incredible white rice.
Yeah.
Like what do you think of whenever you think of white rice? Oh, that's just something. It's like padding.
Yeah.
Of the food of like Chinese food. It's mostly flavorless or whatever.
Yeah.
But my mom makes such flavorful, insane white rice.
Yeah.
I can't even compare it to anything. Like, it's trying to tell you how to taste a certain color.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't had it, you don't know what I'm talking about. But it's so good.
So is it like a white rice that's like it's got like seasonings and stuff in the white rice, or is it like a white rice that's like it's been cooked in the water while it's been made, and that's flavoring it? Or
yeah. So this is gonna sound so incredibly stupid and sound like nothing.
Okay.
But literally, all she puts in it is olive oil and salt, and she puts just the right amount of it that it enhances whatever else you're eating.
Yeah.
It's still the side. It's not a main course. But if you put anything on it, it now has made what you're eating so much better.
Okay.
Like normally, whenever you have white rice, let's say you get Chinese food, you get white rice, and then you have some like yum sauce or spicy mayo or whatever.
Yeah.
The white
you
rice
just, like add it into
the
the
rice.
rice.
You add it into the rice. It makes the rice taste good. If you do that to that rice, it still makes it taste good. But even if you ran out, you would have that rice and be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, because it enhances everything. Like it's just like, I mean, the rice is practically like a seasoning all on its own. It's so good, and it just.
Yeah. You're just thinking about it, you're like, this shit, I need it right now. Like.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes like, after the cookout, oh my gosh, you can hear that?
I don't know. Hopefully they can't, but.
Okay. Okay. But sometimes after having eaten and the cookout is done,
and
let's say it's like my time to clean everything up, I will go and start cleaning, and then the pot of white rice will still be there, and I'll just take a big spoon, and I'll just be eating the rest of the rice as I'm cleaning. It's like, I'm like sitting there washing dishes, chewing on rice. Yeah, that's what I do.
So rice is definitely the staple thing for you.
Yeah.
So,
Gotta have it.
Need
it.
have it. So you said empanadas, right?
Yeah.
So what is the ideal empanada for you? Like when you go somewhere?
Cheese.
Just cheese by itself?
Oh yeah, the white empanada cheese. I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
I think it's just called empanada cheese. It's amazing. You know, I mean,
so it's not like cota cheese or anything like that, or like a
mix.
It's just
it's literally called I think it's called white empanada cheese. But yeah,
okay.
Have you've had one, right?
Yeah, like I've eaten them. Yeah.
There's different kinds. There's like the kind that are made with like corn, and like the corn breading or the cornmeal like type.
Yeah.
And then there's the ones that are just made with the empanada discs, which are just like uncooked mini tortillas that you just fold in on itself and put the filling in. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you.
Which do you prefer?
I like both, but I like the ones I grew up with, which is just the regular like soft tortilla uncooked tortilla type.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I got you.
They're called like discos.
Yeah. Okay.
And those are literally called empanada discos.
Yeah.
You can find them.
All right, bet. Hell yeah, dude. So so like if you're gonna eat one with like meat and stuff like that, what's your ideal meat for it? Like, is it like
I guess it's just beef. I mean, you can find all types of empanadas. So
there's a Colombian place by my house, and I eat empanadas from there all the time.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, you could put beef, and whatever you want in the beef is like really up to you.
Yeah.
My mom likes to put olives and all kinds of different things in there. I hate olives in my empanadas, so I've been screaming about that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want olives in my empanadas. Don't put fucking olives in there.
Yeah.
Just yelling about it.
That's fine. That's fine. I like you don't. But was it okay? So first, I gotta ask it: is it like black olives or is it like green olives? Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't really see too many like green olives or like purple olives, stuff like that being added and stuff. So that's what's okay. All right. Yeah, that actually sounds good. Like add the olives in mine. Like
yeah, I once found out that all the young people in my family didn't like olives, especially whenever they were in empanadas. So that's why most of the meat would go uneaten by the young people. And I went upstairs. We were in a basement, and I went upstairs and told all the women that were making the empanadas, all my mom, my aunts, they like to, gabble and chatter and talk while they cook. Yeah. And I said, we don't like olives, so don't put any olives in these empanadas, all right? Don't put any olives in the beef. And my aunt looks at me and says, then you should cook it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, dang.
Guess I'm eating olives.
Yeah. And I went downstairs and told them after we had all been like, yeah, go up there, tell them we don't want empanadas. It's been, 30 years we're eating empanadas. We don't want this anymore. And then I go downstairs and say, Estrella said if we don't want olives, then we could cook it. And they were like, yeah, that's right, Estrella. You tell them. And I was like, what? We're not.
You turned on me.
You turned on me because she had a cool line? Because she said one cool thing? 30 years we've been not liking this stuff. 30 years, since we were children, we've been over there like not liking it. And because she has one cool line, now you're going to be like, oh, okay, I guess we're just not going to, we're not going to eat again. Yeah. Screw y'all.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Okay. It's funny. I've had similar experiences like with my cousins and stuff, where it's like me. I talked about it in the last episode. And so like sometimes you can trade stuff out for like macaroni salad, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm not a huge fan of macaroni salad. Like I'll eat it, but like macaroni salad that's made with just like straight mayonnaise, like throw it in the fucking trash. Like I went to my mom. My mom was she was like a stickler for like, if it's on the plate, you gotta eat it. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't leave your plate empty. So it's like I remember she made some macaroni salad. And she's like, you gotta eat this. And I was like, I don't want this, Mom. And she was always like, there's starving kids around the world who would love to eat this, and I was like, well, let's give it to them. I got in so much trouble, or whatever. It was funny. She's like, how could you just give it to him? I was like, we could always mail it to him, right? You just mail him macaroni and cheese. So like, yeah, dude. I don't know. That honestly, I didn't grow up eating like empanadas and stuff, but like as an adult now, like I eat them all the time, right?
Yeah.
So like that is a fire ass starter to me, like an appetizer type thing.
You gotta be careful with those because you have 4 of them and you're like, oh,
you're in, yeah.
I might be done eating.
Yeah. with the rice too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm just realizing how crazy it is to start with that, and I do that.
Yeah.
You know, I walk in, I fill up a plate with rice. I got some empanadas. The real food isn't even done yet.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like full. I'm like, that's how you start.
Yeah.
You know, fill a tummy full of rice and empanada cheese and dough.
So after you fill in on that, what's your because you already said your side, so because I'm sure your side is you're like, just add me more rice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
get more rice.
What's your main? What's your
man,
like your main course?
There's always a lot to choose from. Usually there's like ribs. I love ribs, and I'm not talking about like pork ribs. I mean like my family will make like the beef ribs, like the big ones. You know what I mean? Like the freaking cow ribs.
Yeah.
And they make them so, and I didn't know it was strange to make them like this, but you know they'll boil the ribs first, and then they'll take them out and slather them in the sauce, and then cook them. You know, so when they come out, you pull this rib. It's already been it's boiled. It's already been boiled, and then it's been cooked, and then you bite it, and it just falls apart, and you're like, wow, insane. You're just loving it. You're getting all messy. And then, you know, it's just after that anything's a bonus. I've been there when there's been what's it called? I know they like the pernil, but I think it's called pork shoulder. It's like got the chicharron, which is like the skin. What's it called? I don't know. So I have like Spanglish when it comes to certain things.
The funny thing is that like black people, we just call it skins.
Yeah.
Which is like, as a kid, I was like, I don't want to eat something skin.
Yeah.
Like it just. So like, you know, people were like, oh, chicharrones. I was like, I would eat them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, these are so good. And then my mom and like my cousins and shit, they'd be like, those are just skins.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But like, so like, okay, so. When you eat ribs, so I guess it's like, is this like an Ecuadorian recipe? So it's like
I don't think it is. I mean, it might be. I don't know. I mean, like,
is it like a different taste in barbecue sauce, or is there a barbecue sauce that's going on there, or is it just like a?
Hell if I know. I mean, my mom seems to use like. So I feel like my mom is a little bit of a genius when it comes to cooking. Mm-hmm. You know, because there's a version of people who cook.
Right.
There's people who can follow a recipe and cook.
Right.
And then they get the ingredients, they make it, and then it comes out just exactly like the recipe. And then there's people who can see a bunch of ingredients.
Right.
And then figure out what they can make from that. And then they don't need to measure, they don't need to do anything, and they can make something amazing.
Right.
That is a cook. Everyone else is just following instructions.
Right.
You know? And my mom is one of those people that can just look at whatever barbecue sauce that we happen to have in there, whatever like meat is just hanging around.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I can do this. And then because there's always a massive 30-pound bag of rice around, that's the thing, you know? So it's always there, and she just be like, let me put this together. I mean, there have been so many times I've tried to learn what my mom or how my mom makes something. And I'm like, what is this? What did you get? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I just put a little bit like that. I'm like, okay, but how much? Because I'm not a cook. I follow instructions. And so I'm like, how much did you put in there? And she's like, just look and taste. And I was like, okay, that's not helpful at all. I can't just like look and then guess how much salt should go in this thing. You know, she just eyes it, goes, okay, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And to me, it's like, okay, whatever you did, whatever you did, I don't know.
Right.
But it's amazing, and she can figure it out. She always does, and you know, my mom's never. Nothing is like a secret. You know, it's always like, oh, she used Sweet Baby Ray's this time. Oh, she used this other thing that she thought was Sweet Baby Ray. You know, just whatever barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
She'll just be like, oh, that one's cheap today. I'll get that one.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's like, because like my mom does the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like in the end, it always ends up tasting the same. All right? It's like you're like, you use the good, like expensive barbecue sauce this time, or use the cheap kind. It's like, whatever you're seasoning their barbecue sauce with, it's like it comes out your way.
It comes out your way. Yeah, there's just something magical about it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get it either. Because if I used one barbecue sauce, then I use a different thing, everybody's going to know.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you used different barbecue sauce this time. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
You know, and my mom, you know, you can't, like, I looked in there one time, the label was, they had no label.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And she's like, that's barbecue sauce. I'm like, okay, what kind? She's like, nah, the label came off.
Yeah.
Like, okay. How long's it been in there? I mean,
it's fermented barbecue sauce.
Yeah, why the heck is the label coming off? You know, it's just, she just makes it. You know, she'll just make whatever.
Well,
always figures it out.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's I don't know, that's my mom's the same way, and it's like, I think my mom's maybe like made in my entire life of 38 years, I think she's probably made like 2 or 3 things that I was like, this tastes like shit. You know what I'm saying? But like outside of that, everything else has been like creative genius type shit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and like that's why I think I appreciate those shows too, like Chopped.
Mm-hmm.
You know, shows like that where it's like you got like 5 or 6 random ass ingredients, and you've got to make something out of this. And it's like, because that's kind of like how we grew up, where it was like my mom would be like, well, it was what's in the pantry. So I was like, made that. You're like,
exactly.
This is delicious. So
got to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I try to figure it out now, but my figuring it out is like, oh, thank God we have bread. I can just make a sandwich.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not looking at ingredients and being like, I can do this. Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
No, not me.
Hell yeah.
Gosh.
After you have gone through those two, what is your you're like, I got a sweet tooth, right? What's your top 2 go-to desserts?
Oh, I love apple pie and vanilla ice cream.
Oh, hell yeah. That's classic.
Yeah. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like, to be honest, I feel like vanilla ice cream goes with like anything sweet pretty much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It does. And then I love cheesecake as well. And then there's those extremely decadent Edwards pies. Do you know it?
Edwards pies? Nah, what is that?
They're like, you can get them at the grocery store. It's like a Hershey pie or a whipped cheesecake pie. They're like in the frozen
like
section.
Big bag shit right there.
Yeah. They used to sell Edwards Hershey pie slices at Burger King.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So
okay,
now those, you can get the entire thing at Kroger.
Okay.
Now, those are so incredibly good.
Yeah.
They are dangerous how good they are. I mean, you know, you can have apple pie and you can feel like, oh, I'm having apples.
Yeah.
I'm cheating a little bit. I'm eating apples. You know it's got a lot of calories, but you're still like, but there's apples, so that's good for me.
Yeah.
One of those Edwards pies, you're just like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like you put it in your mouth, and it is so good. You're like, I could go mad right now. This is so good, and I know this is bad for me.
Yeah.
Like it just tastes like you're eating liquid fat. It just dissolves, and it's like, oh. and you eat it, and you know Napoleon, Emperor of France, never put anything this good in his mouth. this is something that we made
Yeah.
in this time that no one ever had anything as good
Yeah.
as that has existed. And here we are picking it up from Kroger for $10 and eating it on the couch.
Yeah.
You know, watching Unsolved Mysteries. And
The
Napoleon,
remake.
yeah, the remake, not even the original. And Napoleon never even had a taste of it.
Yeah.
And he conquered most of Europe.
Yeah.
You know, Alexander the Great conquered the known world, and he
Yeah.
never had a taste of Edward's whipped cheesecake pie.
That's wild. Because you saying that, right? That almost leads into my random food fact, right, for this episode.
What?
Then like the random food fact is that a lot of times people think that like on the Titanic, right? They're like, oh, these people, because you watch the movie and you're like, oh, they were eating fucking delicious, like it was amazing. Like you feel bad for like Leo in the movie that you're like, oh, he's not getting to eat the fancy foods. You know what the most fancy food was on the ship?
What?
It was literally liver and onions, right? That was like the top tier dish, all right? And it's like, this sucks, dude. Like, so what the fuck was everybody else eating? Were you eating like cat food or some shit? Like, but I always think about it because like there's a guy who like gets old cookbooks and then like cooks the food from it. So he got the Titanic book and he was like, I'm gonna cook the most expensive thing that would have been on there,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the liver and onions. And I was like, dude, what the hell?
Wow.
Like, and like they had a burger that was on there, but it wasn't an actual like burger. I guess it would have been like considered like the first Impossible burger, pretty much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in a sense, 'cause it was meat and shit, but it was like it was like a hot dog, but just like made into like a patty form. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
So it was just like a bunch of random shit.
Yeah.
It was like, the Titanic does not sound fun.
A
after
pattied
all.
hot dog.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's disgusting. so it's like, I don't know. But, all right, so the last question before we get out of here. You being a stand-up comic, right?
Yeah.
Been doing comedy for 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is your go-to? Like, you say, like, oh, you did a show. What's your, like, one food you want to eat before or either after the show?
You know, the one thing that's always been there for me, there's like two foods that you can pretty much always get anywhere you go, either a burger or chicken fingers.
Okay.
Chicken tenders. You know,
Okay,
you
yeah,
can if you're hungry before a show, you can have a burger pretty much anywhere we do stand up, anywhere I've done stand up. Or if they don't have a burger for any reason, you can get chicken tenders.
Yeah.
And I feel like those are I'm totally fine with either one.
Yeah.
But I will always go for the burger first. I mean, you've seen me eat a burger before.
Yeah.
At places where people are like, don't eat there. I lamplighter. I'm like, let me get a burger. Here. People are like, don't do that. I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I'm getting a burger.
Yeah.
I've gotten a burger here before stand-up. I've gotten a burger at Lamplighter. I've gotten a burger at the place on Thursday.
Yeah.
I got a burger at South. I've gotten a burger pretty much everywhere that you can get one.
Hey.
You know.
Okay, so this is a side question, right? What place, I guess you say you've been to, that you say you've like, oh, like when you do comedy there or whatever, you're like, I got to get something to eat when I get here, or something when I leave or whatever. Has there ever been a comedy club or a bar venue, some shit that you're like, anytime you go there, you're like, I know the food is good here?
You know, I mean, at the High Tone.
Yeah.
Before, like, do you remember when the High Tone, we first came here, and then they had those amazing chicken fingers and those amazing burgers before they switched things up?
Oh yeah. That's when
like,
that was Josh McClain was here.
No, it was after that. It was after, because he did like sandwiches and stuff, which were good. But it was like in 2020, like whenever they moved to this building here, like back then, and then they cooked.
Oh, and that's when they had like the buffalo chicken tenders.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And those chicken
fire,
tenders were so good.
Yeah.
I don't know what the F happened, but they switched things up back there. It's fine now.
Yeah.
But that was like a golden age.
Yeah.
And I just remember coming over here, I was like, listen, I know it's like pandemic time, but I want to see if I can get a little something over at the high tone again.
Yeah.
Those chicken fingers at the time, and they gave you a lot of sauce too.
Yeah,
back then.
yeah.
I haven't had the chicken fingers here in a little bit, so maybe I'll try
Yeah.
them out again. But I remember hearing like, "Oh, that guy doesn't do it anymore," and I'm like, "What? Do whatever you needed to do to keep them. Why did you?
Get
why?
the recipe from
Yeah,
him.
Why did you let that guy go?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Yeah.
Jesus."
There was a reason the sauce was so good, Tommy.
Yeah.
It's not
Oh
here
no.
anymore.
Oh no.
But hell yeah.
man.
So last thing, tell everybody where they can find you and find your comedy and follow you
At
and
Tommy
your sketch
Oler.
stuff.
At Tommy Oler on everything.
Hell yeah.
On,
Well,
on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Tommy Oler.
hell yeah. Well, definitely look up Tommy. Look up his comedy. And we'll be back again with another episode of Big Back Adventures. We're talking about food and not being obese, even though that could possibly happen. So, anyway, have a good time. And always, don't forget to drink water. And don't forget, don't be a piece of shit.